It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
The world confuses me sometimes, for reasons I may never understand. After raising them for 18 years, our Karakul sheep have suddenly seemed to be... I'm starting again, I'm sorry. The world confuses me sometimes. For reasons I may never understand, after raising them for 18 years, our Karakul sheep suddenly seem to have become a hot commodity. Was I wrong, I wonder, to think of phasing myself out of farming and transferring the operation to Troy and Victoria, when I may have finally hit the jackpot? Should I switch gears and give up my law practice to devote myself full-time to mining this mother lode? It's not unusual in this season to get inquiries or orders for slaughtered lambs as Easter and Passover approach. What has been unusual in the past couple of weeks is to get 4 different requests for Karakul breeding stock. Troy has been talking about reducing our herd by about half to fit in with his and Victoria's plans as to where to devote their farming energy. Remarkably, despite the birth of a couple of dozen lambs since last month, thanks to this level of interest, it seems they will be able to achieve that goal. As with all other aspects of life, I'm constantly struck by the variations in human desire. The first request we received was from a professor in New Jersey who wants to start raising a small herd of heritage breed sheep on her property, starting with 4 ewes and a ram. They will join her goats and cows. I'm presuming a lot here, but based on her academic profile and the scale of the operation she contemplates, I assume her desire is driven by something akin to what motivated us to start with our 4 matriarchs, Bridget, Mira, Cabell, and Marina, back in 2001. Call it the romance of sheep keeping. My late partner and I, Peter, had seen some Karakuls at the Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck during our first year on the farm. This fat-tailed breed reminded Peter of the sheep he had seen grazing all over Turkey in the 40 preceding years he had spent living and traveling there. They produced the rough type of wool that was used for weaving the Turkish flat weavings, kilims, and making the felt products that he sold in his business. After researching their history, he was entranced by the romance of their possibly being the Ur sheep, the first breed bred by humans from which all the other breeds branched off. Hence our choice of Karakul. I've always viewed myself as just sort of a sidekick to Peter's projects and desires, but this morning I realized I had also already had a certain romance regarding sheep in my own mind as well. My senior year in college, my friends and I rented a house in a ritzy Philadelphia suburb, Gladwin, from a professor who was on sabbatical. Though his house was no mansion, it was on a road overlooking the Schuylkill River, across the street from an estate owned by the Dorrance family of the Campbell's soup fortune. I don't think we ever actually saw their house, to my recollection, but their front gate was in fact in the midst of a sheep pasture, where the sight of a grazing flock, quite a novelty to me, gave me great pleasure. In retrospect, I think it may also have made me associate grazing sheep with gentility and privilege. I wonder if my sense of satisfaction now, when I look across our pasture and see the sheep peacefully grazing, doesn't have some element in it of that unconscious association, giving me a delusion, perhaps, of economic success. Our next inquiry came from a fellow who had purchased about 15 sheep from us last year, and wants more. He is, I believe, of Uzbeki ancestry, and his desire appears to be more in the nature of establishing a culinarily oriented business. Central Asians seem to enjoy eating the meat of the Karakuls when they get to mutton stage. But for many, especially the Jews and Muslims for whom pork would be anathema, the special attraction of our breed is the sheep's fat tails, which when rendered was a critical source of cooking fat in a region far from other good sources of such fats. Following within hours of hearing from last year's buyer came a call from a second Central Asian fellow, getting back in touch after intermittently calling me for months. While he shares with the first caller a desire to satisfy the taste of a particular ethnic market for fat-tailed sheep, he is far more industrially minded. He's been offering us a partnership an investment into our infrastructure if we would ramp up our herd from its current number of around 70 to something in the realm of 1,000 to 2,000. When I told him that Troy and Victoria, after some consideration, had decided they would rather reduce the herd than increase it to such an industrial scale, which would be far beyond the capacity of our property, he said in a panicked tone, "Don't sell to anyone else. I'll take them all. I'll buy the entire herd." And then, 2 days ago, came an inquiry through our website from a foundation, the SVF Foundation in Newport, Rhode Island, which is seeking 6 to 8 mature Karakul rams and 20 to 25 mature ewes as part of a biodiversity preservation project started last year in conjunction with the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute. The stated purpose of the project is, quote, to strengthen rare and endangered livestock breed conservation through the preservation and study of frozen germplasm, semen and embryos, cell lines, and other biomaterials from rare heritage breeds of food and fiber livestock. The project recognizes that heritage breeds carry valuable traits such as, quote, resistance to disease and parasites, heat tolerance, mothering ability, and forage utilization. They are building a biorepository and cryopreservation laboratory at the Smithsonian's facility in Front Royal, Virginia, from where they think they will be able to reestablish breeding populations of critically endangered or disappeared heritage breeds in a single generation. The SVF Foundation, I learned, has been operating for nearly 20 years and has already been working on preserving a very impressive array of endangered sheep and other rare livestock breeds. They want to expand their mission to Karakuls this year. What struck me, however, was the identity of SVF Foundation's founder and presumably chief benefactor, none other than one Dorrance Hill Hamilton, late heiress to the Campbell soup fortune. As I was reminded of my earlier encounter with shepherding, I couldn't help wondering if the particular interest of this foundation in sheep was something that was part of a family heritage of the Dorrances, or perhaps just inspired by the same flock I so enjoyed watching in my senior year of college. Romance, food tradition, saving the world, and big bucks industry. Such different paths to Karakul fever. Should the buyer's motivations matter? Or in the interest of the farm's economic viability, should the sheep just go to the highest bidder? A test of our character may await us.
AgriCulture is underwritten by Takana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.